Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second edition of Inside the Diamond with Lamar Fields and Tom Johnson. Ooh, boy, I don't know why that one came out like that, Mr. Johnson. And I am your host, Paul Casanova. I'll be here for a little while longer, and we are here to talk about America's game, baseball, right? Major League Baseball, guys. It's been the first week, maybe a little bit more than a week now, right? It's been going on. Teams are starting to see a little bit about, well, I don't know if we really know too much about everybody yet, but we're getting a good sense of at least how they're starting off, correct?
Mm-hmm.
We had our very first, shall we say, almost mini controversy of sorts. The Dodgers the other day, the manager there seemed to have pulled one of the most curious moves I've ever seen, considering your object of the game is to win and to have the best that you can on the field in doing so. And in baseball is one of the few games we can actually say something is perfect when it's going, because it's actually called a perfect game if you actually get there. So a guy is on the way, Kershaw's on the way to getting his perfect, and then they pull him out of there. Somebody explain that to me. Tom, explain that.
You know, I can honestly say it might be due to Kershaw's health history in the past with back issues. I mean, we're talking about a Dodger team that during like a recent playoff run, like a year or two ago, they were actually without him the entire playoffs, and everyone was wondering, how are the Dodgers going to get in? And if I'm honest with people, I guess it's the right move right now, considering it's early on in the season, and you'll want the guy to just build up his strength and everything. They've been without him before in the regular season, being on the now what they call the
injured list. How often does a guy get to be perfect?
It's
like
tough.
That
it never happens. It doesn't happen all like that, and that's the beauty of the game is it doesn't happen all like that. And
even
you
for
have to ask
him,
yourself, oh
right?
yeah, even for him. I mean, he has. Whenever Kershaw is on his game, he has one of the absolute best curveballs I have ever seen in the game of Major League Baseball. And I mean, this guy drops a dime of a curveball. And, it's just one of those things where I guess Dave Roberts is just like, let me look out for the long.
Well, what did he have? He had like 13 strikeouts at the time, right?
Yeah, he had like 13 strikeouts, and he had like only 80 pitches, which that is unheard of. I mean, whenever your strikeout ratio is that high,
like striking out two guys for every 3 outs. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Lamar, explain this, man.
Well, he definitely probably was like on an 80 pitch count. But in that situation, I'm Dave Roberts. I go to Kershaw. I'm like, hey, how you feel? If you want to try to finish this or what? If we can pull you, if he give you the okay, I want to finish it. And then like, you got to closely monitor him. See what his fastball look. If his fastball is like significantly slower than what it's been, then okay, you get your arm tired. Let's go. But
right,
you 6 outs away from a perfect game. Man,
and honestly, tell me this much though: when you're that way, when you're a pitcher and you're that close, and you're doing that good, should it not be your call? Like that,
it should.
There should be no way that it should be anybody. They should automatically come up to you and ask you, "Do you want to continue?" Not pull you out. And I get what you're saying, Tom. I really do. You have to save it. It's early. October's where you want to be, especially the Dodgers. I mean, can you imagine them pulling him out right now? After all they've done.
I mean, the guy's 35 years old. So, I mean, I can see why Roberts did it. Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about a young, like 25-year-old Kershaw, it's a whole different story. But he's 35.
I mean, at least, come on, man. I mean, 80 pitches? I mean,
I mean, he's a guy that takes them out every
They was throwing 150 pitches back in the day.
Yeah,
exactly.
12 innings if they had to. They were still in there.
Yeah, Jack Morris pitched 10 innings in the playoff game. Like, come on, guys. I mean, 20 more pitches at least.
Yeah. And at his rate, that would have finished the game anyway.
Yeah, the way he was dealing, he might have been good after 100 pitches.
We're already talking about the manager that's been the only manager to pull two guys with a perfect game going. So he really just made the history books.
There's something inside of him, right? You got to get. Speaking of the Dodgers, though, too, just to throw this, I would be remiss if I didn't say this on a day like today, but it is the 75th anniversary. They call it Jackie Robinson Day. There's a lot of 42s going around the league today. A great day of remembering a man in his first debut into the league. And I think we've all seen enough to know what that was like for him, and also it is a great day, and I want to be able to at least mention that out there. There was some good with the Dodgers, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there's always good with that.
It's kind of crazy because even growing up, like you know about him, I've known about him since I was little. Like it's great to see that even today, that they'll keep that going and give you that 75th day, make it a day, make you understand what the number 42 is, because all those kids coming out of high school right now, all that, it's been a long time for them to try to understand. So I appreciate what MLB does in that respect.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a history making day. I mean, you think of what the fact that he was able to break the color barrier in Major League Baseball, and relatively anyone really could have done it, but it was special that Jackie Robinson did. But think about all the minority players after him that came in, all the great ones like Ken Griffey and Barry Bonds and all those guys. Like, he paved the way for those guys. So I mean, it's a day that Major League Baseball is going to cherish forever, because if it wasn't for Jackie Robinson, who's to say you would see any of those guys in the league?
Oh yeah, it changed the league for the better for sure.
Yeah, it did. It's cool. Everybody wear number 42 on this day too. So, great way to honor them.
Yeah, like I said, I'm glad, because having the kids understand what that means.
Yeah,
that's what makes the legacy of games go on. That's what makes it, So it's great that they've done all that they've done and that they keep doing it. I even heard the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame is adding more. So it's all well deserved. One of these days I'll get to those Hall of Fames. I actually, I've never gotten to any of the three, so it's on the bucket list, and we'll be headed that way. But back to baseball here, and back to the games. There is somebody hiding out there, or I should say hiding out at Chicago. You can't really hide in Chicago, can you? You are on the scene. You are seen no matter what you do when you play for the Cubs, right? But Lamar, tell me about that man who plays for the Cubs.
Yeah, Suzuki, man. I want the Giants to get him so bad, and went to the Cubs, and me and my buddy at work was tracking him all off season. Like, oh, the Giants got a shot. Giants got a shot. Needed a right-handed bat. Went to the Cubs. I was like, man, the Giants could have paid him more than that if they wanted to, but they didn't. And, I know it's early, but he batting .368. Got 3 homers already. I mean, them Japanese players, man, they play baseball year round out there, and one thing they always can do is control the bat, and they always going to be solid players at the least.
It's the fundamentals.
Yeah, good fundamentals.
I mean,
great bat control. Their bat control is outstanding.
Tom, what do you think of him?
Oh yeah, I mean, I admire Japanese baseball players, because even if you're a pitcher or a hitter, they always they have fundamental mechanics. And I'm even looking at this article right now that says Suzuki made history. I mean, he's the only Major League Baseball player with 8+ RBIs and 4+ walks in his first 4 career games since RBIs became an official stat in 1920. But he also joins fellow Major League Baseball player and Japanese-born player Shohei Ohtani as the only Japanese-born player to hit 3 home runs in his first 4 MLB games as a hitter. So I think it really goes to show you, a lot of these guys got a lot of pop, and I think it's a great thing for Major League Baseball, because I think that this could really pave the way for more Japanese-born players that are currently in a professional league and over in Japan to be like, these 2 guys have paved the way, but it could lead to an even bigger influx of Japanese born players to like come, and you never know. It can really blow up to be something really great. But I mean, he did it against the Pirates, which I'm not surprised, but this guy just he cranked the bat in that series earlier this week. I was shocked.
It always has been a question, though, about why there hasn't been more Japanese
Yeah.
nationals coming over. I mean, it seems like every time that you get one that does, they become such a big bidding war.
Yeah.
I mean, when the Yankees used to snag everyone that came over, they
Yeah.
was always right there with that checkbook rolling it out.
Oh
Why?
yeah.
Why is there not
Yeah.
more? Like it seems crazy. Like that's almost like and I hate to bring it, but like Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, where you can go and find such a rich amount of talent. There's a whole array of talent there in Japan that doesn't seem to be tapped into as much as it should.
There are probably certain like rules and regulations that like the Japanese professional leagues have that the MLB has to follow, and this, that, the other. I mean, there could be a lot of legal circumstances that both sides just don't let us in about. But I mean, I would like to actually see more. It's just maybe they just set certain like boundaries and circumstances, because it's just like, if you're going to take all of our influx, then what's in it for us in the end? I mean, these are players that are coming over to the major leagues that potentially make more money or whatever the case may be. But like, what do we get in exchange? Like, would there ever be like, hey, we bring Japanese players over, but hey, can we get some of your players or whatever the case is? I mean, it's hard to say. It's just maybe there's a certain criteria of, hey, it's not just every player is just meant for Major League Baseball. Maybe it's they only want certain players because, that guy's going to be a star. I mean,
yeah, and I'm sure that they have their own life there that works for them. They're stars there. It's good baseball. They make the money they need to. I don't know if all of them would want to make that jump and come all the way over here to play in the game. I mean, I know Major League Baseball is the top of the goal, but I mean, I think they do pretty good over there. So I don't know if that would really be too much.
Yeah, they got that. They got that pitcher just struck out 19 strikeouts, 19 strikeout perfect game a few days ago.
Damn.
Sasaki struck out 19 batters.
Damn.
Perfect game.
You see? No.
Yeah.
Tom, a minute ago you mentioned the Pirates as you were not surprised that they were the ones that he was cranking on right there. They got their own guy there though. That I believe they just re-signed him, Mr. Hayes.
Yeah, they got Ryan Hayes. He has been a big prospect in their minor league system, and now they signed him for 8 years. And I mean, this is shocking because whenever you think of all the players that they've had in their like farm system and on up to their team that they could have built around. I got nothing against Hayes. He's a great player, but why not have built around other people before him and have like used those guys as a stepping stone and then bring Hayes on, but like keep the cycle going. I mean, I'm happy for him, and I also know that oh god, his name is skipping on me, but he recently like got avoided arbitration and got a 2-year deal off the Pirates. Man, I hate whenever these guys skip names on me.
Tell me, after this week and a half or whatever, how do you feel about the Pirates already? I mean, do you see where their direction is headed? Can you tell?
It's really projected where it's going. I really just think that so far coming out of the gate with facing divisional opponents, they're pretty much just going to be where they're at. I mean, they're just going to be fighting to like really stay like at the bottom tier of the division right now, because there's a lot of teams like the Brewers and the Cubs that are flat out better than they are. And to me, it's like it doesn't shock me the Pirates where they're at, but I know that they're going to fight. They're going to fight to the end, and even if they finish 30 games below 500, I mean, even then, it's better to fight than to just give up. But I mean, they're gonna be the battling Buccos for sure.
In other words, it's going to be a long summer for you, right?
Yes, it's going to be a really long summer.
And Lamar, give us that Giants update, man. How do you feel about them after a week and a half?
Playing well. I mean, pitching has been outstanding. Um, Rendon got like 19 strikeouts in 2 starts already. You know, Giants going, no matter who's on the team, they're going to play hard and play above their head. So it's off to a good start right now. I just wish they just added a couple more bats, man, and they could be a legit World Series contender in my eyes if they
Is that
added
what
a
you think
couple.
they're missing? You're
If
missing
they,
the bats?
yeah, you know when you get in the playoff time, man, you seeing nothing but good pitching. You're gonna need the top tier hitting. You can't be depending on like Jock Peterson them, even though he had a home run today and had a couple hits today, but you can't be depending on them to come up with clutch hits all the time. You're gonna need some stars in there to.
Who have you seen in this first week? Which team have you seen that surprised you already, or that has maybe even solidified what you thought about them?
The Oakland A's surprised me. I mean, they got rid of everybody and still managing,
They
even though it's
always
early,
do, right?
yeah, still managing to play hard and competitive. I mean, if they lost to the Blue Jays today, they're 4-4, but I mean, they put it on the Tampa Bay Rays, and got these no-namers who coming up trying to make a name for themselves, and
It just seems like that's always the place where that
thought,
happens too.
yeah, these no-namers make a name for themselves, and as soon as
That's
they
right.
get good, they get rid of them every year.
And then they don't
Mhm.
let them go,
Yeah.
right?
Kind of like what the Pirates do.
Yeah.
Brian Hayes just signed that contract. Okay, 2 or 3 years, he gonna when he gets to his full potential, like, oh, let's offload him and get 3 or 4 more prospects.
Same with Brian Reynolds, who they just avoided arbitration with
Yeah,
signing a 2-year deal. You know, those are 2 cornerstone guys that the
yeah,
Pirates can really build around. And
yeah.
you know, whenever they get too good, nothing's just going to trade them. He's just
Yeah.
going to okay, like, yep, you can go.
Tom, which team have you seen so far this year that surprised you or else solidified what you thought?
You know what? I'll say this: the Cubs right now have surprised me because they're leading the Central Division. I won't lie, but the team that really has really kept the expectations high is the Mets. I mean, they're 6-2 right now in the NL East, and I get that it's early, but like it's the New York Mets. They spent a lot of money this offseason. They really have really solidified who they are, and they're really like making it known that, you know, hey, the Yankees are the other team, but we're gonna make it known that like we're gonna make a run for it. And so far, they have lived up to everything. And so, you know,
They kind of pulled the
but
Dodgers of the National League down. I mean, on the other side there, right?
they
Spending that
probably
money, getting
have.
out that checkbook, trying to pull. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
the man they got, Lindor, that's a pretty healthy contract. That was like 300 and I don't even remember, 360, 380, something like that, 387.
Yeah.
I mean, he got a chunk of change, and then pretty much, I mean, I know it's New York and you have to play on that big stage, but he didn't perform all that well with that, and those people weren't too happy with that chunk of change he was getting and not performing. And now he seems to have a live bat. He just hit 2 home runs the other day, in a game, which even in New York made them happy, you know. But he's a big part of that start that they have right now because he's actually performing and in the money that they went out and spent. So I still stick with that, as I said before, about the Mets being that team who can surprise, and I think they can actually, providing everybody stays healthy in this world. That's how we always have to go by that.
Oh yeah, I mean with Francisco Lindor, I mean you think of the team he used to play for in the Cleveland Indians, now the Cleveland Guardians, and you look at where he went to in New York. I mean, if I'm honest with people, okay, give the guy a little bit of a break because he's going from a team that really does, like, in no disrespect to the Cleveland market, but like there's not pressure in Cleveland. But whenever you jump to New York City and you're in Queens, I mean, it doesn't matter if you're the Yankees or the Mets. It's still a baseball-oriented market, and you know there's going to be pressure. And I just think you got to give a guy time to adjust to that kind of market. But I'm pretty sure he's going to show that he's worth every penny that the Mets invested into him, because if the Mets didn't think he was worth that and he didn't think he was worth that, they wouldn't have agreed to terms. But both sides had to have seen some mutual interest to, have him earn that kind of contract.
Yeah, and it's not like they went out and got old either. They're
Oh, yeah, they
still,
did not.
They're still young. They still got a nice. So I mean, they've been doing things right there in New York. I'm the other side of New York, right?
Oh, yeah, they still got Pete Alonso. I mean,
Yeah, he got 12 RBIs already.
Yeah, I mean that team is hot, and they may actually have New York talking about somebody besides the Yankees, right?
And if DeGrom can somehow get healthy later on in the season, I don't know if he's going to be back this season or not, but if he can somehow get healthy, and with him and Scherzer at the top of that rotation, man, anything can happen in the playoff series.
Oh, yeah.
If that's the big if DeGrom can get healthy.
Oh, that is a big if.
Yeah, but even without him, with Scherzer at the top of that rotation.
One of the things that's scary about Scherzer is even though he's gotten older, he just seems to have shown he still has it. He could still bring it in the big game. I mean, this guy's been with the Dodgers. He's been with the Nationals. He's now with the Mets. This guy has experience in all kinds of markets. So I mean, Mad Max is not afraid of the big stage at all. He has proven that he could still shine at the age that he's at.
Another guy the Giants missed out on.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got a list of this written down somewhere?
Oh yeah.
They should just
guys the Giants missed. They got some big checks next to these.
We once had this guy. Could have just replaced them with this guy, and this guy.
Yeah,
what a lost our career.
If we had these guys right here back to get,
we could have kept the tradition of winning the World Series every 2 years or every odd number, whatever the case is. Lamar Frey has a list of that. He's oh my.
Yeah, Scherzer was on top of my list, and so was Suzuki. And I was they have money again next year. We'll see what they do.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't help to always have the money if you don't ever spend it.
Yeah.
The checkbook ain't helping you to stay full.
Can't take it with you.
Let's. Boy, we seem to be playing East Coast, West Coast, but let's jump back to the West side there. And there's another team plays in LA, the Angels. They got a guy there who's trying to creep up a little bit in age, and I don't want to say that is too bad because what is he, only 30, 32?
He's 30. Mike Trout's only 30.
30. So I mean, it's not like he's there, but I mean, he's starting to climb that ladder. He only played what would you tell me? I think you told me 86 games.
He's only played 89 games or 86 games in the past 2 seasons.
Right. So what are they doing there in LA?
Well, a lot of people are just looking at it as, right now it's really the Angels' time or it's going to be a bust because, how much can you afford to pay the man and keep him in an LA market and just say, okay, he's been with the team his entire career, the organization his entire career, and they've only made the playoffs in 2013, and that's been it. But you have another guy in Shohei Ohtani who is only 27. And give Grant, these two guys are in the prime of their career. This is baseball prime right here. But it's also just where do you go from here? How much talent do you have to put around this guy in order to be consistent? Because it's just if you invest so much into Mike Trout and then you invest into Ohtani, but it's just you're not making the playoffs and you're not doing what you should be doing, then what are you really doing with Mike Trout in his career? And a lot of people put it as, the Angels have an influx of young talent. I mean, it is no lie. They have an influx of young talent. They got Anthony Rendon, who's only a year older than Trout. They have Tyler Wade. They have Matt Duffy. They have David Fletcher. I mean, they have a lot of these guys that, are young and up and coming. And, whenever you have a lot invested in the Trout, but he's only 30, you need to really start to build around this guy in a lot of ways and stuff. And a lot of people just been wondering, when is the Angels' time going to come? Because, the window's going to run out on Mike Trout. And a lot of people are going to question, why would you invest so much into that guy if you've only made the playoffs once, but like you haven't really had much success? And I think that, and a lot of it can play on Trout too. The Angels have invested a lot into him, but also the guys struggled to stay healthy in recent years. There's a lot of times where I think it's been probably the past 4 seasons or so. That guy's seen the injured reserve list or whatever you want to call it these days. They don't like calling it the disabled list anymore, but he's seen the injured list so many seasons. And it's just if it's not his hamstring staying healthy, it's always an issue maybe with his neck or something. And you really have to ask yourself, when is the time going to come that all of this is going to come together? And, at the end of the day, I feel like with the Angels, the time is either right now or it's never going to be never. I mean, when do you ever have a team where you got a Shohei Ohtani and a Mike Trout? That's like the Penguins having Crosby and Malkin on their team, 2 of the best players in the world, and not achieving nothing. So it's just you have to ask yourself, when's the time going to come? Because Ohtani's going to be due for a new contract, I believe, after this season or maybe next season or after next season. So it's one of the two. But where do you go from here? You got to put a talented team, and you got to start winning now.
Let me ask you something. Does having a team like the Dodgers in the same city jack you up when you're the Angels? I mean, almost like the same thing with the Mets and the Yankees. I mean, does it make you where you feel like they have to stay with the Dodgers and then they just get left behind? So then you kind of just be like, well, we're second fiddle anyway.
In some ways I could say that, but in other ways, it's not like Art Moreno doesn't spend money. Because I think whenever you look at all the past 4 seasons plus with the salary cap and stuff like that, and the payroll that you're spending, the Dodgers and the Angels have seemed to be willing to spend. It's just a matter of, who's really better or who's more structured and actually keeping the momentum rolling with the depth and everything. I just think in the past, you've seen the Angels hit or miss on a few guys, but the Dodgers have stayed consistent. Whenever you're the Dodgers and you have a Clayton Kershaw as your ace, he's been with the organization since he's been drafted and whatnot, but you've been able to build around other guys and bring in an influx of talent. Have the Angels actually been able to do that? And the answer is not really, because you've seen guys come and go, but you've really only seen Mike Trout be that mainstay guy and then trying to build around him. But, it's the talent that they've been hitting and missing. But I honestly can say that there is a competitive advantage for the Dodgers, considering that, where the Angels are located in Anaheim, it's really not that big of a market, but they're a part of the LA market. Whereas the Dodgers, they've had a history of being a baseball-oriented organization and really fielding a lot of great teams. In the NL West has recently been the Dodgers to really lose. So I can honestly say that there's a bit of a competitive advantage for the Dodgers. But speaking of market-wise, I mean, there's really I really don't think that there's much of a difference, considering they both have access to a lot of resources. It's just a matter of, ownership knowing how to keep the depth there and how to keep the influx of talent rolling.
That makes sense. So since we do this every week.
Go back to the Angels real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, to me, it's simple. They don't prioritize pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And they got the lineup. Trout don't stay healthy. The biggest issue is they don't prioritize pitching.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're spending money, but you're not spending money where you need to really be spending money.
In the right place, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got Ohtani, solid pitcher. Syndergaard, we think he's a solid pitcher. Can he stay healthy? If he's healthy, he'll be solid. But Michael Lorenzen, Jose Suarez, Patrick Sandoval, and Reed Detmers gave up 6 runs a night. I mean, you gotta get some pitchers in there. You can score runs, but if you had some more pitchers, y'all be right in the thick of things, right there with the Astros. But until they figure that out, they're always gonna be what they is.
But see,
Exactly.
I think that's kind of what I was saying though, Lamar. Is like
Yeah.
when you say that they need pitching, like, does it almost make them afraid to go get somebody because then they'll be thought of as like, oh, you got that guy, but the Dodgers have this guy. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
you're like going. It almost makes you scared or hesitant to go make a trade to go get somebody because you got this team over here that's so
Yeah.
dynamic that I don't know. I mean, I just
Yeah.
always,
Yeah.
kind of wondered that watching them because they're like that stepsister or whatever, in LA. They're kind of,
The little brother to the big brother.
exactly. The one who's never going to get the limelight when, because the other one's just
no matter. Yeah. Man, no matter how sorry the Dodgers could be, they always gonna be the.
Yeah, they could be last and still get the play.
Like the Lakers and the Clippers.
It's unfortunate. I mean, I always think of guys like a Nick Aidenhart. That's unfortunately, he unfortunately passed away a few years back. But if he, never passed on, what kind of pitcher would Nick Aidenhart be? Would he be a guy that the Angels would actually be able to build around? And the question is yes to that. I should say the answer is yes. You just have to figure, that the offense has always been there, but like Lamar says, it's the pitching that's been lacking, and I think they really need to really invest into the pitching for the long term. The offense is there, the pieces are there.
Yeah.
It's just the pitching got to get solidified.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, I think we hope to keep doing this every week. So there's something I'd like to get started a little bit. One of them is I want you guys to give me the upcoming week. Something that's coming up this upcoming week that we should watch. What's something coming up, something big for us to look out for? Is there anything you could think of off the top of your head? I know I'm hitting you guys right off the spot here, but
I got something.
Is there a game? Go ahead, Lamar.
Giants and Mets got a 4-game set on Monday. Should be a good one. Starting Monday, New York. That should be a fun series to watch.
In New York.
Yeah.
How are you expecting the Giants to do there?
Hoping for a split at least. You always want to. You playing a good team, it's hard to beat them 3 out of 4. So split would be nice. If you can get 3 out of 4, that'd be even nicer.
That's a good one right there.
Yeah.
Mark that down because the Mets and the Giants, that's going to be a good one. Tom, you think of anything?
I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but that is a really good matchup early on. I mean, it'll give you a test to see, okay, the Mets have made a lot of noise this offseason with what they got and with how they've come out of the gate. This would be a series that would determine early on, okay, is this team for real? Or, because it's easy to say, okay, we're going to be a week and some change into the season going on 2 weeks and stuff. But
right.
I mean, the early stuff matters. I mean, you're seeing a lot of divisional games in this first week and some change happening. And, to the people out there that, might not know a lot about baseball, these early season divisional games, they end up, really mattering at the end because, who's to say, okay, this is one divisional series down and this is one less that we have towards the end of the season. What we do now is going to play pivotal because we don't know what's going to happen towards the end of the season. But, we could go on a winning streak or a cold streak, and that series at the beginning of the season could be the pivotal differential of whether we make or break into the postseason. So I would honestly say, that's a good matchup early on to test the Mets out and to see, what they're really made out of. And because, it's like Lamar says, with a 4-game series, it is really extremely rare in Major League Baseball nowadays to take 3 out of 4. You're lucky to really get a split and get 2-2. I mean, that's really the average of a 4-game series is getting a split. But if you could get 3 out of 4 games, then you really get momentum on your side because it's like, wow, we really got a 4-game series and we won 3 out of 4. That's a huge momentum shifter, and that builds confidence in the team going forward because it's just even if that's not against a divisional opponent, it's we won 3 out of 4 in that series against a non-divisional opponent, but they're in the same league as us. That is huge momentum for us because, now that could give us a chance to pad the lead in our division. I mean, the Mets are 6-2 right now. I mean, it could be.
Let me ask you guys a quick question too, since we're on the National League has been big here tonight. Have you guys noticed any difference in that DH?
Ooh.
Yeah, no pitchers up, no pitchers up there just holding the bat, not swinging.
Has it been better to you? Do you like it?
I like it.
Oh, I like it too, actually. I'm looking to see how, like, say, the next month and some change, breaks out. But, so far I like it just because I'm going to be honest now, after seeing a couple games and seeing a DH, I'd rather see a DH in there versus just a pitcher that's just going to hold the back, because it's just like, okay,
Yeah, but
this could be an extra batter that gets us an extra run or two that we may not have seen with the pitcher
Yeah.
there.
that's
More,
true.
you
I
gotta
hear you.
got
Go ahead,
more strategy now too. You ain't
Yeah.
you can't. Oh yeah,
Oh,
just
yeah.
walk this guy the pitcher up next. No, ain't no more.
Right. But come on, you gotta say there were some great comical moments, man, when those
Yeah.
guys get up there to hit the ball. Like
Yeah,
sometimes that shit was just great. So so I'm gonna miss that part of it. But another thing here that I'd like us to do before we go is I want you to give me your thoughts. Give me your thoughts on anything that has to do with baseball. Go ahead, Tom. Give me something.
Oh boy, where can I go? I would probably say the Toronto Blue Jays right now with Vladdy Jr. and what he's done so far. I mean, that guy, if I'm any pitcher in Major League Baseball, I'd be afraid to throw this guy anywhere, no matter if it's a fastball or any kind of breaking ball or off speed pitch, because it just seems like he can readjust to any pitch and it could go out of the ballpark and you'd be like, how did you hit that? Like, this guy just seems to have some unorthodox power that I have never seen. Maybe he gets it from his daddy. Who knows? But, Vladdy Jr. is he's on fire right now. I could just see if he continues this trend, it could be a pretty scary season for not only just him, but every pitcher he has to face.
He's worth that FanDuel money then.
Oh, he probably is. He's worth the fantasy draft pick. He's worth basically anything. I mean, it's up to him to go out there and produce, but he's shown that he's pretty much worth it. He's just doing what he does best, and that's work the count, and that's get a pitch that he can hit, and more often than not, he just does damage to it. And he has the talent to do that. So it's hats off to
him. You gotta love to see something like that. Great. Lamar, what about you? What you got a thought for us on baseball?
Enjoying the season so far. All the young talented players all playing pretty well so far this season. Good to see a lot of young talent. And a lot of us didn't think we was going to see baseball this year, and for it to finally be played, it's actually been a lot of good games to watch, and really enjoying it so far.
In saying that, like you said, with the young talent stuff, so do you feel baseball's in a good place? Do they got enough young stars coming up?
I think so. If they keep on producing the way they are, that's what you need in baseball, young stars.
Oh yeah, like you see it in basketball.
Yeah.
You see it in basketball. To me, the NBA is set up for another decade. They've got their stars ready and coming up, so that's really good for a league.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm asking. It's the same thing for Major League Baseball. Do you guys see that youth? Do they got that core there at that bottom ready to take that spot?
Yep.
Take it to the next level.
Oh yeah. Oh, you could definitely see that every single season. They just seem to find a new influx of talent and bring it in, and it all deals with coaching, and management and how they prepare the players. But more importantly, I think it deals with how the farm systems where these guys come up through, how they prepare them, because these guys have pit stops before they get to the major leagues. But I think I think it just pays a big tribute to how like these guys are brought up, but how dedicated they are to like really show and how good they are, and shown that they're worth getting paid early on in their career, especially a guy like Vladdy Jr. I mean, guy's only 23 and he's already hitting 367, and we're only like going on 8-9 games into the season. I mean, this guy's just ripping the ball on all.
Barry Bonds type, huh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You got to love something like that, though. That's what it needs. The sport needs somebody like that, dynamic enough to pull in people who don't watch the sport, who want to come and watch it like they used to back then, breaking into ESPN just for his at bat. It needs something like that again to give it a good spark, because it's had enough stuff kicking the game down that something like that, a players of dynamicness like that would be great for this sport.
Oh yeah.
guys, man, this has been great. We got the weekend of baseball. Keep your eyes open for next week, and we will hit it up again and figure out this game and see how it's going on. Then by then it'll be pushing 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks by then. So we should really start getting to see a few teams. We'll know those dogs. You'll know those dogs by then.
You'll start to see You'll start to see who the teams are that are like legit going to be contenders throughout the season, and then you might start to see like a trajectory of, okay, this team was a sleeper the first month, but then they really just got a unexpected kick and they just started, just winning, and like, wow, that's a surprise team. So,
same thing with players. Yeah, you might.
Oh yeah,
we may see a big turnaround by then, but at least it's starting to get in there, and we'll get a little bit more down, and that's what we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going through this season. We're going to make sure that we give the people what they want, and that's a little bit of everything from the game of baseball. So once again, I appreciate the both of you, man. Lamar, thanks for coming. Tom, thanks for coming.
No problem.
Let's do this again next week.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, guys.